You're listening to the ASOTU CON Sessions by Effective live from ASOTU CON 2024.
All right, gang, I'm Michael Cirillo, and I'm here at the ASOTU CON podcast stage in collaboration with Effective. I'm now sitting across from my pals Erin Fallon and Jeremy Nowling. Thanks so much for joining me here on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Okay, so first we have to talk. You are the manager of enterprise dealer success at Upstart. I have to know, how often do you have to say that full title?
It's a mouthful, I know.
How long is your business card? No, I'm just kidding.
It's extra long.
I'm kidding. I'm a goof, I know. And Jeremy, you're the sales and digital retailing director at Rohrman Automotive Group. Of course, from Upstart, using the Upstart tool, we're talking about enhancing that customer experience and how to take the customer from their online journey into the showroom. And I think that's a question that we wonder a lot, like how do we attribute the buying journey and all of the different touch points that they have to actually showing up in that showroom and inking and penciling a deal. So I'll start with you. From Upstart's perspective, what are you guys noticing as far as maybe hangups that would prohibit an online car buyer to actually make those final steps into the showroom?
Yeah, that's a great question. I frequently find that there's a little bit of a disconnect between when that guest starts online. Mm-hmm. They're spending quite a bit of time on the dealer's website, and they're looking at payments. They're figuring things out. The information goes straight into the CRM, and then the pickup line is, "Hey, I see you're interested in a XYZ." Right. And they're not acknowledging the work that guest did while they were shopping online. So I think that there's a little bit of work that we can do, and we try to help with our dealer partners to help them elevate those conversations that they're having, to use that knowledge to their power, so that when they're following up with a guest, it's just a pick up where you left off kind of a situation.
Yeah, I love how you bring up, because there is so much research happening, even to the point of leading them to the dealer's website, like you're saying, and then they're spending a bunch of time there searching through inventory and filtering through everything, seeing if the color's available, seeing if the price is right, paying with the payment calculator, flipping through photos, that by the time they submit the lead, it's sometimes easy to forget, but they've already come from a certain place and they're not just starting that experience here. So the tie-in from using a tool like Upstart, how have you found that changes the narrative internally from a dealership perspective to know, I kind of have a better understanding of how they got here?
Yeah, so we look at it a couple different ways. One of them would be a forced lead assignment to get to specific people that we've trained to handle digital retailing customers, because it's not necessarily just our website that handles a DR opportunity. DR is everywhere. Obviously, it evolved during COVID, and then just carried on to all of your third parties. So now the consumer can go to any third party site, build out their payment, their deal, submit their credit application, trade evaluation, and fall into the CRM the way that we use Upstarts. The disconnect comes from lack of training to your individuals to identify that true source. And then even more is, as Erin put it, how do we acknowledge that first follow-up? That first follow-up shouldn't always be, I see you're interested in this vehicle, it's available, right. When can you get here, right? And they didn't identify, well, this customer went ahead and submitted their credit application, gave their trade-in. So those actions should be followed up with instead, hey, I just wanted to follow up. It looks like you built your deal, submitted your credit app, you did X, Y, and Z online. How can we take you down the funnel a little bit further? And we go a little bit further. We place the digital retailing tool inside of iPacket to make sure that every consumer receives that opportunity to build their deal, so that we're more educated when the customer does show up at the store.
I love it. And I was going to ask along those lines, how have we noticed the shift? And it sounds like what you're really observing is the customer does want to take the time to, dare I say, fantasize about the car and the options available. Absolutely. And they're imagining what it's going to be like. Is that along the lines of what you've noticed?
I would say so, yeah. You know.
So when we look at it as more of a KPI, right? What does it do on those specific lead sources as for an appointment set shown, or did that vehicle sell when the customer came in? And I was sharing with Erin this morning, I wanted to have true data. So month to date, it actually shows that those customers across our 23 stores have closed at 67% when they show up at the dealership. And just for those lead sources specifically, we're closing well above 30%.
Wow.
And in an industry where the average close rate is somewhere around 7 or 8, it's helped us to come to an average of 18%, 20% at some stores.
I got to pause here because you're just saying yes, like this is commonplace. Like you haven't just landed on a gold. She's like, yeah, Tell me a little bit about the process, because I imagine you don't just wake up one day and come up with the solution. You guys have been observing customer behavior and online shopping activity, I'm guessing, for quite some time, and now you've really solidified this process into your ecosystem.
I mean, absolutely. You guys invest a ton into training and making sure that the process is there. And I think that is the most important part of all of the success when it comes to this type of opportunity, is that making sure we're just sticking to the process. We're, answering the questions correctly. We're addressing, what the customer is caring about. And then when you can put the numbers, like Jeremy was talking about, in front of a sales associate or a BDC agent, it's important to them, because that is showing them that if I call this customer, the odds of them showing up are X percent higher. The odds of them selling are that much higher. So if it's an Upstart opportunity, it's an opportunity I want if I want to sell cars and make money. So
yeah.
It comes down to just being a more educated customer, a more qualified lead, and a greater opportunity. If that customer's already taken the time to take all of those actions, you just can't mess it up,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Or you hope not to.
And you both have touched on something here I think is worth highlighting, because I think, and this is not unique to the auto industry, so this is not me throwing a spear right now, but it's that a tool, if you rely 100% on a tool, you're a tool.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because we struggle with that sometimes, don't we? Where we're like, hey, just bring in the tool. And it's like this. I use this real cockamamie example. Forgive me, this is probably a bad one, but I'm like, I went to Home Depot and I purchased the most expensive hammer I could find, and that darn thing still won't hang pictures on the wall for me. I still have to know how to hold the thing and do the process. And both of you have touched on training. So talk to me about, in the spirit of a tool, how you are training around it to make sure that your process is integrated and tight.
Sure. So I would say that we're not a group that overtrains, where we have a regular training every day. What we do have is sessions of accountability. And those that are not meeting those standards that we set up, those are the ones that we'll focus off when it comes to overall training. As for the DR side of it, we'll hold group sessions. And those quarterly sessions we bring in. So most recently, 3 weeks ago, we just had our last recharge session. And during that recharge session, we actually invite our dealer partners of Upstart, iPacket, some of the other vendors that we are tied up with, to come in and make sure that the entire staff goes to a speed dating session almost, that they have full understanding by the time they leave that session of what that product does. And then it aligns with our processes and tasks that we build out in the CRM.
Right.
But the training is ongoing, and then even deeper as we tie it all into an LMS. So that learning module system is then given to every employee on processes and products that we believe in, to go back in and watch it on a regular basis.
Yeah, what I love about this, it goes back to that dose of reality for me, which is assessing from an organizational perspective and being honest with ourselves, because that's lacking in the world today. Being honest and saying, organizationally, do we have the capacity? And I'm not saying capability, I'm saying capacity to truly install the product and learn about it and make sure, to your point, that the team all understands it and is bought in and is comfortable with it. Because don't you feel like oftentimes we do rely on just bringing in a tool to solve for operational inefficiency? And it sounds like you're saying, no, we're really focused on
we
that.
believe in training on the tool before rolling it out. It can't just be a tool that's customer friendly. It also has to be user friendly. So we have to be able to identify the challenges that we may face using their product. And with this one, I would say this one was very well thought out. So it was Upstart was created by 3 Google executives. So look into the history on that and how they built this out. And now we're taking it even further with their new product of AI lending, of being able to take that customer who fills out the application online, who by the time they get to the store already has an approval in our system.
Wow.
And now it's just run.
Dude, you said AI. Thank you. Now the Google gods are going to take this and blow this podcast out to the universe. From an AI perspective and what he just said, I mean, is that where Upstart really starting to lean into? How can we use AI, perhaps not to replace the person, because I know we're all worried about that, but maybe to replace the parts of the job that didn't require a soul to begin with?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing that I'm seeing, or the advantage to the AI, is number one, that it isn't here to replace anybody.
Right.
It's a value add that actually is going to increase the opportunity for more jobs, more people, because what we're able to do is identify buyers using AI in addition to FICO and other methods. And so we're able to find buyers that are out there that other lenders may have overlooked due to more traditional or old school methods of identifying credit worthiness. Now, going back to your other point, is one of Upstart's philosophies was that, we wanted to build a solution that would not only make it easier for a customer to buy a vehicle, but also actually to make it easier for a dealer to sell a car. We have quite a few integrations that are working in the background, CRMs, DMSs, all, you name it, to try to give the sales associates this one-stop shop so that when the time comes to financing, we're actually able to approve buyers in less than 30 seconds. And so what this does is it allows their team to either be able to maybe leverage that approval to get the guest the best approval, but also know exactly where the customer stands very quickly and very efficiently. So if I can sell more cars faster, that means more opportunity for me, more opportunity for the bottom line. So
efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Erin, thank you so much for joining me. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me. How can those listening and watching get in touch with you and connect?
So if you
Visit
remember, my booth's over there. If you remembered my really long title, just look me up on LinkedIn.
If you're listening in the future, you missed out. Make sure you still
absolutely. Yeah. LinkedIn, and then check us out. And then we also have a session coming up shortly at 1:45 in Studio 3. So you can learn more about Upstart there as well.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining me on ASOTU podcast stage. We're having conversations powered by Effective. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this ASOTU CON session by Effective. If you want more content like this, you can check out our other podcasts. We have a daily show called The Automotive Troublemaker, Monday through Friday. Here on podcast, also live streamed on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. We also have a long-form podcast called Auto Collabs. And if you just want to go a little deeper into this community, you should sign up for our regular email. We put our heart and soul into it. You can get it for free by going to asotu.com. We'll see you next time.